I will just have a large glass of milk and a child's singular meatball. Hello, we are here at Sun Sounds of Arizona in Flagstaff, Arizona, and welcome to episode 12 of Untamed Shrews, Women Talk Theater, presented by Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival. I'm Dawn.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Becki, and welcome to today's episode. Before we get started on our silly topic today, stage disasters, let's do a quick check-in. Shrews, how are you doing?
Good. You're very pregnant over there.
Pregnant over here. It's really miserable.
Oh, but you have muffins to eat.
I have muffins to eat. I can only eat in the mornings. I can't sleep at night. It's getting to be the end.
Yeah, the end is nigh.
Yes.
Luckily.
Soon enough.
That's basically how I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's about all I can handle right now.
We are recording 2 episodes today because Dawn's due date is November 29th, which is going to be a little too soon for our December episode. So this is our December episode, but it is currently November. We're time traveling. So
by the time you're hearing this, I will no longer be pregnant.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. You will be very much having a baby.
I'm going to eat full meals, lay on my stomach, have a cup of coffee,
Living the
some
dream.
wine. I can't wait.
Oh, seriously.
Yeah.
Bex, how about you?
I'm doing pretty good. This is going to be my first winter in Flagstaff. So,
You're right.
yeah, I've usually been gone between like October through February, March. So I'm really, hopefully it's snowing right now when this episode plays. That would make me really happy.
That's true. It will be very much near Christmas. So
Yeah.
it'll be, this episode comes out on December 19th, which is also the closing date of Christmas Carol. So when this comes out, Christmas Carol will have just closed, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
We start rehearsal this weekend.
So much time travel.
I know, much time traveling.
Yeah. Hannah, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Things are also really busy. I feel like I'm working so much. Been doing a lot of aerial. I don't know. I feel like I was telling one of my girlfriends, I feel like I really took a turn in aerial this semester. I've been taking a lot more classes.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Oh. I feel like I've really improved just like the last few weeks. So I've just been having tons of fun in class and been focusing on choreographing and stuff like that. And Christmas Carol is about to start, which is crazy. People are arriving in just a few days. So that's always scary. Housing and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to get started. I'm sad I'm not in the show, but I'm costume designing. So that's obviously been lots of fun.
Yeah.
Yay.
I love costume designing. I love clothes. I also just like sitting in piles of clothes. It's like one of my favorite things. So when I just when I start costume designing, basically what I do is I just like sit in a pile of clothes and
It's just
start
like
sorting.
osmosis, like let the vision come to you.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
So quirky.
I just kind of sort of like go through things and sit in this big pile and like sort things. I don't know. I just like clothes a lot. They make me happy. Yeah.
Yay.
Awesome.
Well, yay. It seems like the Shrews are doing okay. We just had our little 10 episode celebration this month, if you saw on our Instagram. We just wanted to celebrate getting through 10 months. And we knew that since Dawn was going to be having her baby, we couldn't really celebrate the year mark very well. So I figured 10 was a great place to start. So yay, we had some pasta. I had to commemorate.
And I had a huge glass of milk.
Oh my gosh, that was so sad. Tell them that story.
Well, just when you're pregnant, you can't eat very much at a time, and especially at night. So when I arrived, it was like, did we do it like 7 or something?
Yeah.
And I was like, I will just have a large glass of milk and a child's singular meatball.
The waiter delivered.
Yeah, the waiter delivered.
I
Yeah.
mean, people are really nice to you when you're pregnant. It is one of the perks.
He was so nice because we were just talking about like so many female issues at our table. Like we were just talking about like our OBGYNs and stuff.
Yep.
And like he just kept walking up at the most inopportune times. But he was such a sweetie.
He was so sweet. So yeah, when I ordered my milk, I expected a small glass of milk. I got like a beer glass of milk.
A pint of milk.
And I
stein
finished
of
it.
milk.
It was
Yeah.
delicious.
Good.
Oh, that's so silly. Well, let's chat about some silliness, about stage disasters. This one's so fun. In our notes, we have a lot of different stories listed out. So who wants to start us off?
Well,
Your favorite disaster.
favorite disaster. So my fear as a stage manager is having to do a show stop for whatever reason, and then being the person, because the stage manager is kind of like the conductor in that sense, where it's like, okay, like we are stopping the show, like the stage manager makes that decision, often based off of maybe someone's like, maybe one of the run crew is like, this isn't working, we have to stop, or something is going on, but it's usually everyone goes, the stage manager who's giving that direction there, and then having to like restart a show as a stage manager. Oh my God. Oh, my heart is pounding just thinking about it. So I don't think I have had to stop the show as a stage manager, but I was ASMing a show and for West Side Story, and one of the units, excuse me, oh gosh, great, that's going to make it on air.
One of the what?
One of the units, my voice cracked.
I thought you said unions. I was like, ooh, did
Strike?
they strike?
No. Just one of our like stage units, these big metal pieces that are like 3 stories tall, that they kind of like, they're on a track, automated, but they would swing off to like the sides to be on the side stage and then like swing downstage, and it wasn't working correctly. And so our run crew who was running that was like, it's just not going to work.
No.
We got to stop because it's unsafe.
I was going to say it's big.
Yeah. It's big metal pieces. Yeah. People are dancing. It's just not a good combination. So our stage manager who was calling that show, she stopped the show. And luckily, it was at a point that we had done many, many times, because we always do a sound check before the first performance in a new venue. And so like that was kind of right at the start of where that sound check would have started. So she was already like in that mindset of like, oh yeah, we're just going to pick it up from here because but that's just a good place to go back to, and also a place that like we were all familiar with, just starting from because of sound check.
It's also probably so hard for the actors to like actively stop and like jump back in. It's probably really difficult.
Yeah.
I saw Carousel on Broadway in 2017, and oh my gosh, the show stopped not once, but twice for 2 different reasons. So I'm watching this like beautiful, stunning show, and Jessie Mueller is like singing an aria. And I think what happened, we all had to sort of gather the details, but I think what happened is a kid was in like the orchestra section, and I think that they thought he was choking, but I think he was throwing up.
Oh,
yeah.
Either way.
And I know, either way, terrible. And like, so the show stopped, and then it restarted, and then like 5 minutes later stopped again. But I can't remember what the second reason was. Like, it was a separate patron that something else happened.
Yikes.
And I literally saw Jessie Mueller, like, dead inside. She was, like, so upset. Like, she was sitting there, like, over his dead body, like, singing him a song. Or I can't remember what section of the show it was. But it was a very dramatic section. And I think she had to restart her song twice. And she just kept getting called off the stage, and I could just see it in her eyes. She was like, "Oh my gosh, humans!"
Because it takes a lot for a show to stop.
Yeah.
Like things
Especially
have to be
on Broadway.
Yeah, pretty big.
But for it to stop twice for 2 separate reasons within
in
several
the same
minutes,
song,
several minutes, and yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was. That's the only time I've seen a show stop. Oh no, at USF I've seen show stops all the time, but that's for rain. They show stop all the time. So it's like super normal because only like half of the audience is covered. So they show stop for rain all the time. But I've also sat through some monsoons.
Yeah.
Where they did not stop the show. And I was like,
We've performed in like a monsoon.
Oh no, but like actively like patrons being rained on. And they like try to push through and they can't. And they'll like stop the show and like all the stage crew will run out with all these blankets and they'll start like drying the stage and then they'll all run off. It's like 30 seconds. And then like they come back and it's like Shakespeare. It's especially, wow. It's
Words are hard
especially funny in like, the histories when it's like these dramatic battle scenes,
Yeah.
and then the SM comes over and they like stop the show. All the run crew come out, and then they leave again, and they just look like
Yeah.
little bugs like running around,
Cleaning off the
Yeah,
stage.
cleaning off the stage.
Yeah, we've definitely done a couple of those monsoon shows
Yeah.
at Flag Shakes, but we usually just pause. And it's so funny because patrons actually love it. Like, I was just talking to someone the other day who I
Screaming
didn't
through the
know
rain.
was a flag shake. She's actually like a pregnant friend, and we go on Pregnant Lady Lunch. But at Pregnant Lady Lunch, I learned she was a Flag Shakes patron, which I had no idea. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then she was talking about the time she saw the show and they had to stop for rain, and it was so cool. So I think it kind of like brings everyone together
Yeah.
when the audience is kind of involved and they're all rooting for everything to get going
Yeah.
again, and they really want they really want everyone
Yeah.
to get back on track.
And it's also like a special show for them too, right? Because it is live theater and it's like, ooh, like
Yeah.
this probably doesn't always happen. Like I'm seeing something a little bit different
Yeah.
than what other people might see.
Exactly.
Even if it is like a stop.
Well, my favorite is when like the rain and thunder is like at the perfect moment.
Yes.
This summer during Midsummer, Amy Bjorklund was doing her Titania monologue about the seasons.
Yes.
And she was talking about like, we want our winter cheer. And it was just like, thunder. And she just like looked up at the sky and then like looked at Oberon and was like,
See?
Obvi.
So good.
So it's like, those are my favorite ones. Or like Titus, we had a really big like rainstorm, but it was
Yes.
perfect. Cause like I remember like Christian
Yes.
Tripp like screaming over
Yes.
over the rain, but it was just perfect because he's just like this big buff like soldier type, and it just made sense. But it's more difficult when you're like having a romantic scene.
Yeah.
And you can't hear them.
Yeah.
Trying to have this moment.
So I have like my top 3, and one of them isn't on here, but it was actually like maybe I was really young actor. It was in college, and I was in a production of Steel Magnolias, and I forgot to bring in, like, she's having her hair done for her wedding, and she has baby's breath to put in her hair, and I forgot to bring it in.
Oh.
So I had to improv about like leaving it in the car and having to run out to get it, and then the other actors had to vamp. And honestly, I don't think it was that terrible,
Right.
except
But
that
it's terrifying.
after the show, the director legit broke his what are those things called? I can't think of what it's called. Clipboard over his knee as he yelled at me about forgetting the baby's breath.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I was like, that was not cool. Retrospectively, like in the moment, I just thought, okay, like
I deserve this.
I really,
Yeah, I
really,
messed
really
up.
screwed
Yeah.
up, and this director is super pissed at me, and I never should have forgotten that prop because I left everyone else hanging. But now I'm like, it was community college.
Yeah.
It was a production of Steel Magnolias at a community
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
I totally
Also,
covered.
humans, even on Broadway. I mean, you're a human.
Yeah.
You forget things
Yeah.
sometimes.
I know, but he broke his clipboard about it.
Yeah.
So that was my first like stage disaster that really stands out in my mind, and I think it was more because of how he reacted
Yeah.
than what actually happened.
Yeah. Because you were able to cover it. I mean, that's actually pretty
Yeah.
quick thinking rather than just
Yeah.
like not having the prop.
I was like, oh shoot, it's in my car.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess now retrospectively, I'm like, oh, I could have just said I decided against it.
Is it,
Yeah.
is it in the lines? Like, I brought you
it's in
baby's
the
breath.
lines,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She asks where it is, and I give it to her. So I
she asked where it is, and you're like, I don't want it.
I should have just been like, I decided against it, and then they wouldn't have had to.
But
just thought of
then
that.
she may have gotten also. I mean, no matter what, you're going to get confused because if an actor
Yes.
doesn't know what's happening, then they automatically, they also get a little bit flustered. So no
Yeah.
matter what, like everyone was going to get a little bit flustered because obviously something has changed.
Something
like even
happened.
something small. Like I was in a production of 12th Night in college where I was playing Olivia, and one of my good friends, Cade, he was playing Malvolio, and he comes in and like the whole ring exchange.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten my ring, but I was wearing a bracelet, and so I just kept the line as ring, but gave him the bracelet, and I like kind of like mimed the shape, like that it was circular, and like kind of just
Cool.
like
Good.
Yeah.
I don't
good
know,
improv.
gave him the ring.
Right.
I was like, it's Shakespeare. People might think that like
Yeah. It's
the
symbolic.
globe, the ring. I don't know. Yeah, it's symbolic. So I like gave it to him, And even that, like, you know, we looked at each other in the eyes with slight terror. But then, of course, that like put everybody behind, because then he takes the quote unquote ring, which is actually a bracelet, to Cesario. And Cesario doesn't expect to see a bracelet. So then she has a bracelet, and it just kind of like keeps going. It's like, well, now everyone's toting around this bracelet rather than this ring, and it's changed everything. So, I mean, no matter what, it's like you look at each other and you're like, go with me here, buddy. Like, please. Yeah.
So my second favorite is also a props disaster. And this is one I witnessed, not one I was involved in. Okay. And it was a high school production of Romeo and Juliet.
Oh my gosh. I have something about this too.
And it was, it was maybe one of the most brilliant stage moments I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, you told me this story.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm hearing it for the first time. I think.
So it's just these two young high schoolers doing Romeo and Juliet, and it's a high school production of Romeo and Juliet. Like, it's okay. And they get to the very end, and of course, Juliet needs Romeo's dagger to kill herself at the end. Mm-hmm. So he's taken poison. She has all the lines about like trying to get the poison off his lips, seeing if there's any poison in the vial. So she really, backs herself into a corner as far as needing that
There's
dagger.
Nothing else.
She has to have the dagger. So this young woman goes to reach for Romeo's dagger, and it's not there.
Yeah.
And in the most epic moment of theater I've ever witnessed in my entire life, she looks for 2 seconds like a startled deer, and then she gets this resolve on her face, and she reaches into her costume and rips open her blood bag so that it just looks like she tore her own heart out.
Yeah, metal.
So it was metal. So hardcore. The audience was like, screaming. I've never heard an audience react to a moment of theater like that. I've never seen another moment of theater like that. It was incredible, and kudos to her for not just like totally panicking and losing
or running
it.
off stage and grabbing it,
but
something.
She was like, I've got this. I will
I
tear out my own heart. It was so good. And she was so young. So that was my second favorite. I feel like props create a lot of disasters.
They do. And that reminds me, so I have it written down too. So when I was in college, I was ASMing a show, and I think people had probably heard horror stories like that, specifically about R&J, because my director, like, it was part of my pre-show to triple check the dagger, because it was like this bower. So we had this really cool, in the Adams, there's like this really cool trap that comes up, and it was like gonna be, what is it called? Like a tombstone, or not a tombstone,
a beer,
like a thing you can lay on. Yeah,
it's called a beer.
Okay, so it comes
BEIR.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but you pronounce it beer.
Okay.
A lot of people say buyer, but it's not right. It's Elizabethan. It's pronounced beer.
Okay.
It's a beer.
Laying on that beer. So I had to triple check this dagger. Just because he was so worried that exact thing was going to happen. So obviously it's happened enough, specifically in R&J, that the dagger doesn't make it on stage. Yeah. And you're right, she backs herself into a corner. There is no other option.
Yeah. It's like her
I guess like go steal Paris's,
die slowly in a tomb.
Yeah.
Ooh. Like,
well, because Paris is already in there, right?
Doesn't he put Paris just outside? Or
I don't remember, because I was like, maybe go steal Paris's sword.
I can't believe I don't remember this off the top of my head.
I think Paris is
But
in
he
there.
drags Paris over,
Out?
but I thought he just dragged him to the door.
I think he's still in there.
Is he somewhere?
I think so. But I mean, depending on what they've given him,
but
try
a
to go
really
steal
long
something from
sword
him.
is awfully hard to
You just do the bottom.
If you haven't done the combat choreography on that, I'd recommend against it.
I was just going to say, don't improvise with stage combat or stage weaponry.
Yeah, that's true.
The stage manager of me got really scared.
The stage manager.
Yeah. Becky's like, no. I don't know. A terrified Hannah would be like, what can I steal?
Yeah.
I would probably makeshift my shirt into a noose or something.
Oh no. Anything to die. To get those.
To die.
I think I would be tempted to just kind of pretend to palm a dagger.
I think that's what I would do.
I think that's what I do.
A small one.
Yeah, I would just pretend was it there and can I get it in my chest?
Yeah. And sort of try to I don't know, extend your sweater or something.
Yeah. We're all now trying to we're miming all of this.
Miming,
you can't see
yeah.
us.
You're
but-
missing it. We're all
On the
we're all
Zoom,
trying to
everyone's
stab
stabbing each other. Oh my gosh.
So good. Okay, my last one.
Okay.
Happened to me, and this was truly the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me on stage.
No.
So I was in a production that was, I think, totally cursed. This production, so many things went wrong. At one point, our lead actor was in a motorcycle accident on the way to a
no.
matinee.
Whoa.
And someone else had to take over and just like do it on script.
Wow.
Like, hiding the script in like newspapers and books. And like, it was
Oh gosh.
horrifying.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
He was okay in the end, but it was still, I think, maybe
Scary.
one of the most traumatic things. So one night, I'm doing this role, and I'm this like young blonde, like kind of like I don't know. It's set in the 50s, so I had all these like cute little costumes, and I make this like midnight phone call to an older man, and I'm wearing like this like white lacy chiffon dress with like boudoir slippers, the little fluffy like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the like I just killed my husband slippers.
yeah,
I
little
love
boudoir
those.
slippers.
That is the name for them, yes.
Yes.
Have you ever seen that meme where it's like it's like, no, I did not kill my husband, and she's wearing like the fluffy slippers and like the long robe with fur on the ends, and she's like on like a very large staircase, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway,
And
continue.
you're like, you did.
Yeah, you did.
So I'm playing this character. So we hang up from the phone call, and I am supposed to just kind of like excitedly scamper off stage. Well, I totally ate it. Like,
Oh, no.
I don't know if it was my shoes or the stage or whatever happened, but we had 3 freestanding set pieces, like each representing a different location. And I not only fell and like slid like and gave myself really bad like rug burn on
Oh,
like
no.
all the way up my thigh and butt, but I slid straight into one of those set pieces and it shook.
But it
like,
didn't fall on you.
It didn't fall. The audience was so terrified.
I'm sure.
And then there was no way to cover it. There was like no way to be like, oops, that was supposed to happen, or that was it. So I just like picked myself up and walked
And
off
left,
stage.
yeah.
And then later there was only one bar in this town. It was the tiniest town. It was a bar and a diner. It was like in 2 separate parts of anyway, it was kind of funny. So we were all eating dinner, and I walked over to the bar to ask for something like for my dinner. And there were 2 people who I guess had been at the show.
Oh.
And they just looked at me, and the one woman looked at me and she was like, we saw the show.
Oh.
In that tone of voice with like this terrible look on her face.
Wow.
And I was just like, thanks. What do you say?
Yeah.
Because you were like, I totally biffed it.
But I'm
Like,
sure
I
it was
ate it.
lovely otherwise. Like,
Yeah.
ignore
Yeah.
that like one moment.
I know. I don't think anything else bad happened
Yeah.
that night in that show.
Yeah.
That show was pretty
Pretty bad.
terrible. Like a lot of horrible
no.
things happened in people's personal lives, and like the actor who got in the motorcycle accident.
But honestly,
What was the show?
so
Did you
weird.
say?
It was called
remember?
Grand Opening.
Oh.
And it was just this like silly show. So it was kind of a cool theater. It was a theater like in the hometown of this playwright. And they had like his family home was there, and then they had a theater next to it.
Oh.
And it was just a play about basically like his childhood. And it was just a
cool.
cute, fluffy night. It wasn't like anything like Mackers or like
Right.
anything where you would be like, what is
Everything's cursed.
It was
but
just
honestly,
super
you guys
fluffy.
were probably just really, because of all the things that were happening, everyone was probably just in a weird headspace. And that's when the things go wrong, because you're distracted and, you
In your
know,
head
you're
about it.
worried. And like, that's what happens, you know,
Yeah.
like you're thinking about other things. And that's why because one little thing can really like domino effect. Like I said, like The Ring, that domino affected like several scenes because you had changed something and it had to get, you know. So that's probably why everyone was just like a little flustered.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've never body checked stage pieces. But I've been talking about this skirt falling off story for a while. So I guess I will tell that one. And Becki, I see that you also have a skirt story, so it's just going to segue right into your skirt
Great.
story. I was in a Christmas show and I was playing a princess, so I had like this big puffy outfit, and I had a bunch of layers because it was like sort of like ballet inspired what I was wearing, so it was kind of like tutu like, and I had like tights and like little like a bunch of layers of tulle and then like a skirt on top of that, and it was super pretty. I loved it. I was on stage and I was about to exit, and just all of a sudden my skirt falls off. Thankfully, I'm in tights, but it just like, it shocks me so much. But I know that the scene is almost done. So I'm like, I don't really think that like trying to get it back on is worth it. So I eventually just kick it off into the wings, like say my final line, and then just like flit off. And like I remember my dresser was a good friend of mine, and she like comes running and she's like, ah, and we like try to get it back on for my next scene. But I mean, maybe I shouldn't have stayed skirtless, but I just felt like it wasn't worth trying to like get, try to get through my lines while like trying to, reattach this skirt, because I would have had to get it over a bunch of layers and stuff.
If you were comfortable, like, it feels like it would be more distracting and maybe just a little bit more like just cumbersome just to be like playing with that skirt. But instead of just like taking it off and like we've removed it, like moving on.
And I was in tights, so I felt like I was covered enough. And I was only on stage for like a few more seconds, so I just kind of got through. But I still think about that one. But it's more funny to me because like I wasn't naked, so like it's not like a huge deal. It was more just like, all right, I'm a skirtless princess. How about yours, Bex?
Mine is I was doing the Diary of Anne Frank, and great show. I'm just laughing because I have a funny skirt story in the middle of the Diary of Anne Frank. So I had a quick change, and I'm like fully on stage in the other scene, and the guy who was playing my dad, I was playing Margot, Anne's sister, and the guy who was playing is it Otto, like he, like part of his blocking is like going into the room and like coming to bring me out to dinner or whatever that scene was. And so I come out, and then my skirt was tucked into like my tights, I guess, or the band of the skirt or something.
Like so like up in the back, like so your butt's showing.
Yeah, but luckily the woman who was playing my mom like adjusted it for me.
Nice.
But I was like, sir, like you gotta have my back.
Yeah,
like,
literally. What are you doing?
Yeah, so now every time I'm wearing a skirt or a dress, like I just gotta do that like check of like, is the skirt down?
No,
Am I flashing everyone?
Tights will eat your skirt all the time. It's risky. It's risky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that the woman playing your mom fixed it for you. That's so natural.
So motherly.
No, true. Yeah. She would do that. She'd be like, oh, silly.
Liz.
Wait, who were you playing?
I was playing Margot, Anne's sister. Yeah.
That's a good show.
Yeah. That's a great show.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
I have, so true. Let's see, what else do I have? I have something similar to your Steel Magnolias story. I was in high school, and I was in Annie Get Your Gun. And I was playing Dolly, who's like the sassy, like villainous character. And one of my really good friends, his name was Ryan. He was on stage, and someone else was supposed to enter. And I don't know what the scene was. And I was waiting in the wings for like the next scene. And this person just never entered. And Ryan like looks at me in the wings and just like eyes me and is like looking at me like, you need to come out here, like save me. Oh, no. So I just like walked out and was like, hey. And we just like vamped. Honestly, it's been so many years. I don't remember exactly what happened. I think that the person eventually realized and ran out, and I left. But I can't super remember, but it was so scary because I was like, I can't leave my friend hanging. He's like looking me in the eyes. Like I can't not.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what to do. And I mean, I was like 16. Like I was not like a great improver. I mean, I didn't necessarily know what to do. I don't even remember. It's all a blur at this point.
Yeah.
But I just remembered going out and trying to save him. And I think it wasn't terrible. I don't remember, but
it happened.
Yeah. And in that same show, so Annie Get Your Gun, she's like a sharpshooter. And there's this line where she says she's going to shoot the egg off the poodle's head. But he said, I'm going to shoot the poodle off the egg's head. And we all just like looked at each other and like giggled and moved on. And we just always quoted that for like years after, like poodle off the egg's head.
Oh, well, line mix-ups.
Those are so silly.
For window shakes just this past a couple weeks ago, I was playing Cressida in a Troilus and Cressida scene with Sam, and one of my lines, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was like fox to the
I was
lamb.
going to say, was it the fox line?
Yep,
you
and
were struggling with that
I
line.
definitely. Whoa!
Well, you told me that.
Pew, pew.
No, you told me that. You were like, why? Like, for some reason, this line just like won't stick
The
in my
connection
brain.
wasn't there in my brain, and I was on autopilot.
Shots fired.
Not autopilot, but yeah. But I was just like, I don't like, just kind of like, you know how sometimes like when you're saying the lines and you're like, yeah, like I've got this, I don't need to worry. And I went the Fox and the Hound, and Sam just kind of like snickered a little bit, and I was like, keep going, keep going. Oops.
I had one that was kind of in between, where I was doing this run of a show. It was at a small repertory theater in Minnesota, and it was my first professional internship. Ooh. So I was just an apprentice in the show, and it was a new playwright play, and we ran it for like 4 months or something, you know, because it ran in repertory with a couple other things, but it ran for a long time. And one of the other actors who was in it was an incredible professional actor, still one of my favorite humans, and just this amazing actor. And we must have been 3 months into the run, and he has this long monologue alone on a bridge with me, where I just like essentially kind of like nod and like listen to what he's saying about like the last 20 years of his life or whatever. And it was similar to your friend. He walked out on stage, and I could see in his eyes that there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Like I could just tell that he had no idea
so it was
what
like
to say.
Entirely his scene,
blank.
basically.
It was entirely his scene. It was his huge monologue. And I could just see that same, like, help me.
So did you just kind of like say his monologue back to him?
I just kept asking him questions that I knew were in the monologue. And it would be like, I would ask a question. He would look so relieved he would answer it. And then back to panic. And then I would ask him a question. He would look so relieved he would answer it. And then straight back to panic. And this went on for the entirety of that scene until we were able to get off stage. And when we got off stage, I just remember he like hugged me so hard. He like picked me up off the ground. And I was like,
what happened?
I was so, he doesn't know. I mean, he just blanked.
It all went away.
Amazing. Yeah. 3 months into the run of the show, this really amazing professional actor, like not at all, you know, like he didn't learn his lines or something. Like he knew his lines, and they just went out of his head. Yeah. And it was crazy. Yeah. Luckily, it was a very low attendance matinee.
So it didn't matter too much.
Wow.
So I don't think anybody.
We all hope that our mess ups will happen on a low attendance matinee.
I know. Did you guys all see the meme that was going around that was like, I was performing to 20% houses before it was cool?
Before the pandemic.
I was performing to 20% capacity before it was cool. I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yes, haven't we
Identify.
Haven't we all?
Yep. So silly. Well, on that silly note, we are out of time. So thanks for listening to this month's episode of Untamed Shrews. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Becki.
And I'm Dawn.
Follow Untamed Shrews on our Instagram at Untamed Shrews Podcast and on Facebook at facebook.com/Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival. All episodes of Untamed Shrews can be found on sunsounds.org, the Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts.
This episode of Untamed Shrews, starring Dawn Tucker, Becki Zaritsky, and Hannah Fonts. Show art by Calliope Luedeker. Podcast theme song by Cadence Lamb. Podcast produced and edited by Hannah Fonts. Presented by Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival and recorded at Sun Sounds, Arizona. Special thanks to our audio engineer, Gina Byars.
Yay!
Bye.
That was so fun!
Yay.
Bye, guys!
Bye.